of building a better life, doing a reset for a better life.
Rick Warren's world has crumbled. After decades of leading one of the largest churches in America, his life has been shaken by heartbreaking struggles. He has lost his place in the Baptist community and faces a painful illness that tests him every day. What has this well-known pastor been going through? Will he ever find the strength to rise again? Join us as we uncover the heartbreaking news surrounding Rick Warren. When faith meets tragedy. Rick Warren's name is known all over the world. He built a church that grew bigger than anyone ever thought possible. People listened to his words, followed his teachings, and found comfort in his messages. But behind his success, there was something much deeper. For years, he stood on stage with a smile, preaching about hope, faith, and love. His voice and words were filled with meaning, but his life was never perfect. Pain followed him like a shadow, always there, waiting for him. There were moments when he felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. He had seen loss, struggled with his health, and faced challenges that would have broken most people. Yet he kept going, refusing to let the world see his pain. Meanwhile, he carried a pain too heavy to share. Then, without warning, everything shattered. No one saw it coming, not even his family. The news spread quickly, leaving people in shock, unable to believe what had happened. People whispered, wondering how someone who spoke so much about faith could endure such deep sorrow. Some questioned if he would ever recover. Others waited to see if he would continue the path he had walked for so many years. But the truth was far more complicated than anyone could guess. He had spent his life helping others, but now he was the one in need of help. He tried to hold on, tried to stay strong, but there were moments when even he questioned if he could continue living. Everything he had built, everything he had worked for, now seemed so fragile. The heartbreaking news was almost too much to believe. People searched for answers, looking for a reason behind the pain. But some things in life cannot be explained, and some wounds can never heal fully. The man who had been strong before now faced his biggest test. His past, his struggles, his pain had led to this moment. But one question remained, a question only time could answer. How did it all begin? The making of a leader. Rick Warren was born into a world of faith. His father, Jimmy Warren, was a Baptist minister, a man who spent his days helping others find their way. His mother, Dot Warren, worked as a high school librarian, surrounded by books and knowledge. Together, they built a home filled with both love and discipline, where faith was not just spoken about, but lived every single day. He grew up in a small town and attended school like every other child and played with his friends. But deep inside, he was different. While other children dreamed of adventure and riches, he dreamed of something else. He wanted to make a difference, to achieve something that would last beyond his life. His father was a preacher, but he was also a builder. He traveled from town to town, helping small churches rise from nothing. Rick often went with him, watching as empty land turned into places of worship. He saw the way his father worked, how he never asked for anything in return. At school, he was quiet, but observant. He noticed the struggles of those around him, the pain that people carried in silence. He wanted to do something about it. Even as a child, he searched for answers that others never thought to ask. Faith was not just a part of his life, it was the foundation of everything. He prayed before bed, listened carefully to his father's sermons, and asked questions that most children never thought about. But faith did not make life easier. It did not protect him from hardship or ease the pain of growing up in such an unstable world. There were moments of doubt, times when he wondered if he would ever find his place. He saw the sacrifices his father made, the long nights, the endless responsibilities. He knew that walking the same path would not be easy. Still, Something inside him told him that his future would not be like everyone else's. High school was where things started to change. He was no longer just the son of a preacher. He was growing into the person he wanted to be. He started a Christian club on campus called the Fishers of Men Club, bringing students who wanted to talk about faith in a way that felt real. The world was opening up in ways he had never expected. His dreams were growing, his purpose becoming clearer. What unexpected moment set him on the path to his true calling? A divine encounter. Rick Warren was just 19 years old when he made a choice that changed his life. One morning, he and his friends sat in a classroom, but their minds were elsewhere. They had heard about a legendary pastor named W.A. Criswell, who was speaking in San Francisco. The idea of hearing him in person was too exciting to resist. Without thinking twice, they decided to skip classes and drive 6 hours to see him. The Jack Tar Hotel was filled with people eager to hear Criswell speak. Rick found a seat and listened closely. Criswell spoke with power, his voice filling the room. Rick felt every word sink deep into his heart. He had always believed in faith, but it was different this time. Something about Criswell's message made him feel like he was being personally spoken to. When the sermon ended, Rick waited in line with others who wanted to shake the pastor's hand. As he stepped forward, something strange happened. Criswell looked straight into Rick's eyes, pausing for a moment. Then, in a serious voice, the pastor said he felt led to lay hands on Rick and pray for him. Without hesitation, he placed his hands on Rick's head and began to pray. It was unexpected, but Rick did not move. He felt a strong energy in that moment, something he could not explain. As Rick walked away, he knew this was not a normal handshake. Something bigger had just taken place. Criswell's words convinced him he was destined for something greater. But what exactly was he supposed to do? Back at college, Rick could not shake the feeling. He had always been interested in helping people, but after the encounter he felt something stronger. It was no longer just an interest. It was something pulling him in, something he could not ignore. He began praying more, reading more, and thinking about what his future should be. He was not sure where it would lead, but he knew that his life was about to change. One day, while flipping through a magazine, Rick came across an article that caught his eye. It talked about the fastest-growing places in the United States. One name stood out, and that was Orange County, California. It was growing quickly, but there were not enough churches to serve the people. That information made him sit up straight. It felt like another sign. The more he thought about it, the more he realized it was a better idea. There was a big group of people who needed help, but not many churches to help them. It felt like God was calling him to move to the city. But starting something new would not be easy, and no one has answered this important question. How did he turn a small living room gathering into one of the largest churches in the country? The birth of Saddleback Church. Rick Warren knew he needed help. He talked to his wife, Kay, about the place he had read about. Kay listened closely. Right away, she supported him. She felt the same way he did. They agreed it was time to act, even if they did not know what would happen. In 1980, they packed their belongings and moved to Orange County. They had no building, no big funds, and no large crowds waiting for them. They only had a small living room. Instead of waiting for people to come to them, they went out and introduced themselves to strangers. They knocked on doors, started conversations, and shared their hearts with anyone willing to listen. It was not easy. Many people were busy with their lives and did not see the need for a new church. Some politely declined, while others did not answer the door at all. But Rick and Kay did not stop. They kept reaching out, day after day, meeting people where they were. Slowly, a handful of people started to gather in their home. They prayed together, talked about life, and built friendships. What started as a small group soon became something bigger. The living room became too crowded, so they moved their meetings to a local school. Even then, space was tight. More people kept coming because the group was kind and real. The gathering started to grow. But growth also brought struggles. They did not have much money, and finding a permanent place to hold services was difficult. They had no income to rely on. They wondered if they had made the right choice. When they started to doubt, they heard stories from people whose lives had changed. These powerful testimonies gave them the strength to keep going. Years passed, and the church kept growing. The school was not enough anymore. They needed a place to call home. They decided to search for land, knowing it was a risk. Slowly, one step at a time, their small church turned into one of the largest in the country. What started in a simple living room had reached thousands of people. But behind the success, there were more struggles, doubts, and more sacrifices. The journey was far from over. Was his faith strong enough to carry him through unimaginable loss? Rick Warren's greatest heartbreak. Rick and Kay Warren had always been known for their dedication to their community. But in April 2013, their strength was tested in ways they could never have anticipated. Their youngest son, Matthew, who had battled mental illness since childhood, passed away at the age of 27. Matthew's struggles were not new to the family. From a young age, he faced deep depression and other challenges that made daily life a constant battle. His parents watched, feeling powerless, as he struggled with a world that felt too big for him. The night before his passing, the family had spent a pleasant evening together. The news of Matthew's death the following day shook the family. The Warren family and the entire Christian community were thrown into mourning. In a letter to their congregation, Rick and Kay Warren expressed that no words could convey the anguished grief they were feeling at that moment. They shared that their youngest son, Matthew, aged 27 and a lifelong member of Saddleback, had died that day. They reflected that those who had watched their son grow up knew he had been an incredibly kind, gentle, and compassionate man. They described him as having a brilliant intellect and a special ability to sense who was most in pain or uncomfortable in a room. Among those most affected was his older sister, Amy Hilliker. She was the first of the Warren children and the only one born before the family left Northern California for Orange County in December 1979 to begin Saddleback Church. Having shared so many childhood memories with her younger brother, her grief carried a unique weight. But even before this loss, Amy had carried her burdens. At age 15, she was diagnosed with Lyme disease, a serious illness often misunderstood at the time. Her health suffered greatly, requiring years of care and strength just to perform basic tasks. She carried the quiet pain with her, and it changed her. After losing Matthew, she became better at seeing hidden pain in others. She also spoke up more about mental and physical health. In the midst of their mourning, the Warrens faced another challenge. Their daughter-in-law, Jaime, married to their son Josh, was diagnosed with a massive brain tumor. This diagnosis came weeks after she had given birth to their first child. The joy of welcoming a new life was quickly overshadowed by the fear of losing another loved one. Jaime underwent a difficult 20-hour surgery to remove the tumor. The procedure was complex and carried significant risks. The family gathered around her, offering support and prayers, hoping for a successful outcome. The days that followed were full of worry, as they awaited news of her recovery and the potential implications for her health and that of her newborn child. Throughout these trials, Rick and Kay leaned heavily on their faith and the support of their community. They shared their grief, hoping others might understand mental illness better and feel less alone. One by one, people started talking, asking for help. Their personal losses and struggles showed how mental health challenges can deeply affect families and communities. By sharing their story, they hope to honor Matthew's memory and ensure that others facing similar battles would know they were not alone. They wanted everyone to understand that asking for help does not mean they are weak. It means they are strong and brave. But nothing could have prepared him for what was coming. How did he handle the criticism that came with his growing influence? The challenges and criticisms Rick Warren faced. Rick Warren had done so much good, but not everyone liked everything he did. As his church grew, so did the eyes watching him. Some people began to talk, and not all of them had kind things to say. The more his name spread across the country, the louder the voices of doubt became. One of the biggest things people questioned was how he helped churches grow. His answer was the purpose-driven model, a simple plan with 5 important parts: worship, friendship, learning, serving others, and sharing faith. Many churches used it, and some grew fast. But there were pastors and churchgoers who said it made things too easy. They felt the church was starting to sound more like a business and less like a place of worship. Then came another moment that put Rick's name in the news again. In 2008, President-elect Barack Obama invited Warren to pray during his inauguration. Some people were against it. They remembered Rick had spoken against same-sex marriage. Because of that, people who believed in equal love for everyone were upset. They felt the president should have picked someone else. Rick answered calmly. He said he was not a man who hated anyone. He talked about how his church had helped people who were sick and poor. He said his job was to love everyone, even if he did not agree with everything they did. But even with his soft words, many people still stayed angry. More trouble came in 2006 when Rick took a trip overseas. He visited Syria and met with President Bashar al-Assad. This president had been in many news stories because of how he treated his people. When Rick returned, critics accused him of praising Syria. His comments angered fellow church leaders, who argued he should not have praised a leader known for brutality. Rick later said people misunderstood him. He said he went there to talk to the people, not to get involved in politics. Then, in 2009, and again in 2012, he did something else many people did not expect. He went to meetings where Christian leaders and Muslim leaders sat together. They wanted to find ways to work side by side on big problems, like hunger and sickness. Still, not everyone liked it. Some people feared he was trying to blend 2 different beliefs together. But Rick explained himself. He said he was only trying to work together on things they could agree on. He said working with someone does not mean changing their faith. Through all these things, he never ran away. He always tried to stay kind, even when the world felt unkind. He did not let people stop him from doing what he felt was right. Rick faced criticism for his actions, and his church came under fire for its bold decisions. Did Saddleback Church go too far by allowing women to be pastors? Saddleback Church's controversies. Saddleback Church had grown into one of the biggest churches in the country, but as more people joined, so did more opinions. One of the biggest issues came up when the church made a choice that went against what many churches believed. They gave women the role of pastors, something many churches do not allow. In 2021, the church gave 3 women the title of pastor. Their names were Liz Puffer, Cynthia Petty, and Katie Edwards. This became a big issue. For a long time, many church groups had only let men become pastors. Saddleback did something different. They believed that women too could lead and teach. This decision caused trouble. The Southern Baptist Convention, which Saddleback was a part of, said that only men should be pastors. They backed it up with the Bible. So when Saddleback gave women that role, it made people in that group upset. They felt the church was not following the rules. Rick Warren did not back down. He said Saddleback still believed in the Bible, but they just read one part a little differently. He calmly said they agreed with almost everything else the group taught, except this one thing. Still, the Baptist group made a big decision in 2023. They said Saddleback was no longer part of their group. The church was removed from the list of churches that followed the same set of beliefs. Even after being removed, Saddleback did not change its mind. They stood by what they believed. They said women had been helping lead the church for years. They were not going to take that away. They wanted to stay true to what they felt was right. Some supported them, arguing women's leadership in the church was fair and biblical. Others did not like it. They thought Saddleback had stepped outside of what the Bible allowed. But no matter the voices around them, the church kept walking on the path they chose. Rick Warren shared that it was not just about being modern or doing what people want. He said he prayed about it for years. He had studied the Bible again and again. He said the decision did not come easy, but he believed it was the right one. He also mentioned that it was not the end of the church's story. They kept doing their work, helping people and preaching. Even when others walked away from them, they did not walk away from their faith. Rick had faced many battles, but this time, it was his body working against him. Could his faith help him push through the pain of his serious health struggle? Enduring a painful battle. While the Baptist group removed his church, Rick battled a serious health struggle that affected his daily life. For 2 years, he battled an autoimmune disease that caused constant pain in his muscles, making simple tasks difficult. This illness was not life-threatening, but was very painful. Rick described it as debilitating, meaning it made moving around and working difficult for him. He felt like his body was holding him back, even though his mind was still active and full of ideas. Walking and climbing stairs became challenging. The pain was there all day and night, affecting his ability to do the things he loved. Despite this, he continued to lead his church and write, showing his strong commitment to his faith and community. In June 2021, Rick announced his retirement as lead pastor. This decision was influenced by his health issues and a promise he made years ago to serve the church for 40 years. He felt it was the right time to step down and let new leaders guide the church. Finding the right person to take over was important to him. After looking at many candidates, he and the church leaders chose Andy Wood from Echo Church as the new lead pastor. Andy and his wife Stacy were welcomed warmly by the church community. Rick's last sermon as lead pastor was on August 29, 2022. He shared his first ever sermon from 1980, reminding the congregation of the church's mission to live a life with purpose. It was a heartfelt farewell, marking the end of over 4 decades of dedicated service. Even after retiring, Rick did not stop his work. He continued to write and speak about faith. In April 2023, he released a new book called Created to Dream, focusing on how challenges can help grow one's faith. Despite facing health challenges, he remained dedicated to his mission. As Rick stepped back from leading Saddleback Church, he looked forward to new opportunities to serve and share his message. His legacy continues to influence many, encouraging them to live with purpose and faith. His work and words continue to guide and inspire people around the world. Do you think Rick Warren made the right decision stepping down, especially now? What do you think will happen to Saddleback Church without him? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.